Hi you guys, and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I'm sharing with you guys my top 10 favorite reads that I read in 2024. So these are my favorite books. When I went through my Goodreads, I checked out my reviews and looked at my ratings, and these were my favorite books that I read last year. So I'm going to share those here with you today, as well as my TBR for January. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and go through them. I'm not going to give too much info on what the reads are about or what these books are about. I'll give you guys small parts of things that stuck out to me, but I don't want to give too much away. I tend to watch these videos, like I love watching book content, but anytime a book that I'm interested in reading comes up, I always skip it because I feel like people give far too much information on the book. I don't even like reading the synopsis of the book, so I don't want to read the back. I don't want to read reviews. I just want to see a book that looks interesting. Maybe it's a book I've seen often and I just want to read it for myself. So in no particular order, I'm going to just grab each book and share with you guys the book that I loved. So one of my favorite books that I read last year was Powerless. This is one of the first fantasy books that I've read. I enjoyed reading into this book, really just diving into the characters and kind of learning how to comprehend fantasy, because I struggled. Before I even got into this series, I was worried because I'm not a fantasy reader, and I was worried that it wouldn't just click for me because of the world being fake. But I found this to be a really good series. I look forward to reading the third book, which is, I think, Fearless. So I've read this. This is my favorite book of the ones I've read. It's one of the books that I also tabbed, and I just kind of really loved diving into this book, learning about the main character and kind of seeing how things unfold. The next 4 books are all from the same author. The first one being The Teacher by Frida McFadden. This book was just so good. When I rate a book, or when I am talking about a book to someone and I know that I'm like really into it, it goes based on 1, the author's writing style, and 2, how intrigued am I? How into the book am I? How much do I just want to keep reading? That's how I rate my books, is like, how interesting is it to me? And Frida McFadden books, I can hardly put them down. This book was a good one. I talked to some teachers and they were like, oh, I didn't like it because it was inappropriate. And I'm like, just because I'm a teacher, and so just because you're a teacher, don't associate yourself in the position of the teacher or the teachers. Just read the book for what it is. When I separated myself, my career, from this book was so good. The next 3 books are the same series. It is the Housemaid series by Frida McFadden. These books right here just had me going. Like, I could not wait to get my hands on this book when I pre-ordered it, and I read these 2 not even knowing there was a third one coming out. These books were just so exciting. And if you know me, you would know, like, I do not like scary movies. I don't like mystery. I don't like scare catches. But something about Frida McFadden's writing, it's like to the point where I'm like, oh, I know it's gonna be suspenseful, but then there's going to be nothing serious that happens. I've learned that from reading her books, and I love that about it, because then it's something I could read. If you have not heard of the Housemaid series or read any of her books, honestly, it's about a girl that is a housemaid. She goes to these houses and she's cleaning, and she's basically like a protector of these women that are in these abusive relationships, and she saves them, pretty much risking her life for these people to be saved. And it is such a good story. If you have not read it, I highly suggest it. My next favorite is Atomic Habits by James Clear. Oh, this book has all the tabs. I loved this book. I thought this was so applicable. Like, I could apply this to my life in the moment. I could reread it. I can go back and read any page and just grab something that is so beneficial for my day-to-day. I have highlights in here. I really dove into this book, and I was actually applying it to my life, and I constantly apply things that I learned from this book to my life. For example, one of the things that stuck out to me is how to habit stack, which is stacking a habit with something else or pairing it with something that would help you achieve like what you need to achieve. For example, over the summer I was habit stacking while working out on my treadmill. I was also reading, specifically this book, which was just coincidental, but it's learning how to stack something you want to do with something that you need to do. And so I needed to work out, but I want to read, so I did it simultaneously. So that book I highly recommend if you're looking for some sort of like New Year motivational book. Atomic Habits is the book. The next book is actually something I just read last month, and it is All I Want Is You. This book was so cute, and it's so short. It's a super small book, but I thought it was so sweet. I really enjoyed reading about these two characters and kind of just how they come together. They're both authors, and they end up like kind of having an enemies to lover type of vibe, and I thought this was a really cute book. Just nice, short and sweet. Okay. My next book, oh my gosh, this book had me. I loved this freaking book. It had me. So this book felt like it was Frida McFadden, but it's Colleen Hoover, Verity. I was recommended this book by so many people all year long. I finally got a hold of it and started reading it because there's something about reading a book about authors or writers that I don't love. I don't really care about books like the main characters are authors. I don't know. Anyways, this book had me like oh, so nervous. I know Frida McFadden, and so I know what to expect, but I didn't know Colleen Hoover had it in her. This book was so good. I was like nervous. Like I specifically remember reading probably about like 30-45% of this book on my drive to Lake Tahoe, which is over 4 hours. The scene in this book, there's a scene. I know I don't want to be any spoilers, but there's a lake scene in this book. And tell me why. Imagine it's like 6 p.m. You're driving through the mountains and it's getting dark. The sun is setting. It's getting a little rainy. It's drizzling. The clouds are dark. You're driving next to a lake reading the scene in this book. Oh, I had the chills. Like, I loved it. I could not stop. I was listening to that part because I read the book. I read the physical copy up until my trip. And then I listened to it. It was so good. It was, oh. And then this is going to be a movie. If you haven't read Verity, I highly recommend it. And last but not least, it is Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. This is one of my first Abby Jimenez's books, and I thought this book was really good. It was so cute. I'll be honest, I can't remember all of what happened, but I remember reading this during the summertime, and the vibes were there, and it was a romance. I'm sure it's a romance. Oh yeah, it's about these two people that basically think they're cursed and they can never find a partner, and so they end up relating over that and dating and seeing how it goes. Just for the Summer is the title, so it kind of gives you a clue, but this was a really cute book. One of my favorite romances, I think, of the year. And so I am looking forward to seeing what are my top 10 favorites of this year, but for now, those are the ones that I thought were my favorite. Alright, sorry about the bad quality. It is the next day, but I'm editing this video and wanted to include, because in this video I only showed you my top 8 because I forgot 2 of the books that I wanted to include I don't have with me. Someone's borrowing them. And that is It Ends With Us and It Starts With Us by Colleen Hoover. And so those are my 9th and 10th books that I would have added if I had the copies, but I forgot all about it. And so I'm just going to add this clip in with photos and show you guys because I forgot. If you read any of these books and you liked them, or rather you didn't like them, feel free to comment down below your thoughts on the books. Or if you have any book recommendations for 2025, leave them also down below. I'm going to go into my TBR for January. So if you did not watch one of my last videos on my reading journal flip through, I kind of shared with you guys that I have a reading goal of 50 books this year. And so with that calculations, that's at least 4 books a month with 2 extras throughout the year. And so I'm doing my best to get ahead when I can. So I am a teacher, so winter break I'm currently still on. I have spring break, I have summer break. So during those breaks is when I'm gonna really have to catch up in those areas of where I'm at based on my reading goal. For the month of January, I have 4 books. I've already read 2 of them. I'm already starting my 3rd, and so I'm ahead of it. The first book I read so far in January, but these are on my TBR, but I've already read 2, like I said. So my first read for this year is In 5 Years. This book I thought was super cute. I'm not a fan of books when it takes you back in time, but this was not what I expected. This only actually doesn't take you back in time. It's a snippet into the future, and it's literally showing us what happens up until the point that this girl, the main character, envisions happening. I don't know, it wasn't like a dream that she goes into the future, but I thought this was a really good read. I think I rated it 4 stars. It wasn't too bad, but I did enjoy reading it. My next read I went into was another romance, One True Loves. This book, you see these tabs? This book was so freaking cute. I definitely think this is going to be top of my charts by the end of this year because I just thought it was written so good. The characters were so like, I wish I was the main character. Like the way she is and how she communicates and the guys that she talked to and how they were understanding. Like this was such a good read. It's about this girl that basically dates this guy from high school and he ends up going missing, or actually is pronounced dead in a helicopter crash, but really he's not. And so he comes back into her life after she's already gotten engaged. That's all I'm gonna say because I don't want to spill too much, but this was so good. The next book I'm into is Finale from the Caraval series. This is the last book of the Caraval series, but I do know that there's a novella. I don't have it, but I don't know if I'll read it either. I'm not a fan of the Caraval series, but I'm one that struggles to DNF a book, to be honest. I really liked Caraval. I think I rated it 4 stars. Legendary, not so much. The Finale, we shall see. I'm just getting started. I'm on chapter 3, actually. I started it yesterday, so I'm going to read through this one. And then after I finish Caraval, The 7-Year Slip. I've had this book on my TBR for a really long time. And I feel like this is maybe possibly what I was talking about when I referred to in 5 years, how it goes back into time. I feel like those time capsule reads I don't enjoy. I do not even enjoy movies like that. So I don't know how I will like this. I have not read the back since I bought it, which was months ago. And so we will see how this is and if I like it. But I'm excited. I'm proud of myself for reading 2 books in a week. And so I'm moving into my 3rd. I'm actually reading 2 books right now. I'm reading Finale, and I also just started Becoming by Michelle Obama. I'm listening to it. And so I'm just keeping myself ahead of the game because in case in the future I cannot read 4 books in a month, at least I'm getting a head start now. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you're into this book content like I am because I'm enjoying having some new books to read and some challenges for myself. So if you are interested in continuing this book content with me, feel free to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you aren't already, and let's keep on reading. Bye guys.